Welcome to Wizard Team, a Black magical podcast for Black magical stories.
Hi everyone, it's Bayana, Robyn, and Porshèa embarking on a journey through the many fantasy stories written by and about Black people. First up, we're reading Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston. Today, we're discussing Chapter 3.
Previously on Wizard Team. Aww. So what did we talk about last episode? Amari receives a discreet delivery, but has to wait a ridiculous amount of time to open it, 8 hours. So Quinton is bitched because how dare...
I hate it here.
How dare you? I am 12. This is the Wendy's, sir. And when she opens the briefcase, there's an ugly suit, an envelope, and glasses. And I like to think of the glasses as like, if you've been to Disneyland and you've gone to like Star Tours or any like those like, or you know, like the
kind of like 3D glasses situation.
Yeah, but like
I thought about them as VR glasses, like VR experience glasses.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But I was also...
See, I thought of them as like a regular sun, because she calls them like shades, so it made me think of like...
It made me think like cool looking.
Iron Man, Tony Stark, his glasses with all the... You know what I mean?
Yes.
Either way, we're thinking about glasses, except for Porshèa. Porshèa's thinking about glasses. You cannot go outside. And I was thinking about glasses that like look unassuming.
Yeah.
And then
I was like, at the very least, they would look like the 3D glasses that they remember they used to make them look cute. Now they make them look ugly, so you don't want to take them with you. So I was thinking about the ones that look kind of ugly. They're not really practical.
So you're like, it's a whole ugly vibe, ugly suit, ugly glasses. So
yes.
The vibe. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But like, ugly suit, ugly glasses in the sense of like, did my brother have a body swap with the world's most unfashionable person? Why are you saying this? What is this?
What are you doing?
What are we...
But nah, because when she got the suit, she was like, nah, this is a very Quinton thing to do, is to send me something that is hideous.
Yeah.
And corny. So,
yeah, I mean, maybe she thought it was like a gag gift, like a gag like suit or whatever. Yeah.
But then she puts on the glasses and we hear Quinton's voice.
Bum bum bum. Yeah, that was it.
Oh. I was waiting.
So yeah, we've heard Quinton's voice. And then she whips her head around and sees him standing in the middle of her bedroom. So he just like, she puts the glasses on, all of a sudden he's here. She like hugs him. She's like, just, it's a lot of emotions. She hasn't seen him in 6 months. He just appeared here. And like, I get it too. It's like, you might have questions, but the first thing is just like, oh my God, you're here. What's going on? So she's like, she's so happy. She's like, we've got to tell mama, let's go. And then he's like, okay, actually, I just need you to like, he says, I'll explain everything, but for now, I just need you to trust me. So he kind of like sidesteps the mom question. Although, I missed something. So this is like one part I really love. Where she says, I can't get the words out fast enough as I stare up at his very alive face, a big, goofy grin sitting below his wide eyes and uneven hairline. I'm like, as a sibling, you're so excited to see your brother. You haven't seen him in 6 months, but you are not going to let it slide that his hairline is not doing what it's supposed to be doing.
Get it together, Quinton.
She's like, you need a haircut, bro. Like, what is you doing?
I think she was already like poised to be looking out for stuff. She's like, he sent me this ugly freaking suit, and like I'm like, what else is off about this man? And she's like already ready. Like,
yeah, it's like, and your hairline is crooked. Like
look at you, a mess.
Yeah. So like, I saw that and it made me laugh because it's just like, of course. And you're Black, so like those things matter. Like you can't just be out here.
Can I also say, sorry, this like recently happened to me, and it's about to happen to me again, where my hair wasn't doing what it was doing. When I came to New York, do you remember, Porshèa? And I was like, I gotta go find somewhere to do something about this hair, because we ended up getting like a Black person meeting on the calendar, and I was like, see, I was slacking. Like, I knew my hair wasn't on, but I was like, I'm gonna be surrounded by white folks and I'll be okay. The minute you know there gonna be some black folks who are gonna see your hair and actually know that it is not doing what it needs to do and it is not giving what it needs to give, tragedy. So we figure out later in this
That's why you
chapter
gotta stay ready
that,
so you don't have to
like,
get ready. That's my philosophy. Like, I'm gonna stay ready.
Stay ready.
No,
That's real.
If I
see, but you are
That's real.
unlike me. I be pushing the envelope because I'm lazy, and I know it. I know I be playing with fire, and I get burned a lot. But I be playing with fire. I really do. But, like, so we find out later that, like, Quinton. Well, at least I think Quinton could have done something about his hairline.
Yeah.
Right?
We can discuss when we get there, but I feel like, but that's a good, I didn't think about that. That's the only reason I'm saying we can discuss when we get there, because I need some time to think about it. I gotta take some time to think about it.
And that made it even funnier to me because she remarks on it, and I'm like, and you didn't have to show up like this, so you.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Okay,
but when we get there, I also, like, for me, like, I had thoughts about perhaps it wasn't his fault. And when we get there, I'll
yeah. Okay. We're gonna put a pin in that. We're gonna come back to that. Okay, so he said, so she's like, of course I trust him, but how did he just appear out of nowhere? He tells her to follow her. And like she does, but she has this moment where she hesitates because, again, she wants to tell her mom. She's like, we see in the first chapter how, like, things are really strained between them because they're both, like, in these high stress situation, and are trying to, like, make things work without Quinton being there. But it's not like he's a big presence in their life. And so she's like, if she knows that he's here, then, things can go back to normal. We don't have to fight anymore. We don't have to be sad and all that kind of stuff. And so it's just like, I don't know. It's another, like, sad, sweet moment, as we talked about from, like, we mentioned that last episode too, of just, like, her really wanting things to be the way that they were.
Yeah, I had a moment where, like, as she's glancing back at her mom's door, wondering if Quinton's voice might have disturbed her mom as she's, like, walking around with him.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about how, like, touching it was that she thought the idea of his return would help relieve them of, like, all the tangled emotions that they've been, like, having since his, like, disappearance. And I'm like, that's, like, a lot of idealism and optimism for something that's clearly, like, there were things bubbling before he left for things to be the way they are currently. And even with him in the household, doesn't mean it's going to actually resolve everything. Like, even if the biggest thing is the biggest problem right now is that he's not there, it's not the only problem. And him being back doesn't resolve all the other problems that have popped up since then. Especially
because there's a lot of questions too, right? Like, he's gone missing, but they don't know what he was doing. They don't know, like, there's so many, like, questions around who he is and what his job was and all of those things. So it's not like he comes back and it's immediately great, but it's like a relief. And then it, like, as the relief kind of goes away, then you're, like, left with all this other stuff.
I was also thinking,
but again, she's 12. So in her head, she's just like, great. We just, turn the clock back. It's like nothing ever happened.
I don't think that's, like, I also think that I don't want to undermine 12-year-old thoughts. I think that's her wanting that to be the resolution.
Yeah.
Like, inside probably knowing better, but still, like, putting that as the main thought is, oh, it's going to be fine. Even if she, like, has reservations about it actually being fine.
Yeah. But I also think that, like, and not to say that, like, it's because she's 12, but I think it's also just it's just, like, the way that you process things, right? And I mean, I even think that we would do it. It's like, at first it's like, oh, things can be good again, right? You spend all this time wanting him back. It's not, so, like, he's back and it's like, okay, so now we can, even if you have to move forward and things are complicated, it's like the thing that was really, like, pulling us down, having, we're grieving, is, like, fixed.
Right.
Or that particular part is, like, okay now. And you may move forward from that moment, but I think she's still in the throes of just, like, he's here. Like, she's in those emotions.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting to me to think about the fact that when he shows up, it's like there's still so many questions. And right, so like even when he was ostensibly not missing and they saw him, he was getting further and further away from them because he had this mysterious job. They didn't understand what he was doing and now they're like, we don't know a lot. And so I think she's also kind of excited because like, okay, he's back. And now we can unravel the rest of this mystery without the like she knows in her heart that he's not dead. But they're in being confronted with him being missing. They have to actually confront the fact that like he's been kind of disappearing from their life since he took this job. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, definitely. So he's like, we don't have time, we gotta go. And he leads her up to the roof.
Also, like, we don't have time. Boy, explain yourself.
No, and that's the other thing. That's the thing. There's this like urgency.
Yes.
Like, and it's the same with the discreet delivery from the last chapter. Like, there's this sense of urgency of like, no, you just gotta go. Don't ask questions. Let's just go. And I mean, again, we'll find out kind of why in a bit, but yeah, it's very rushed and it really relies on her trusting him.
I also want to note that this is like very much in line with kind of like how I don't want to say programs, but it kind of is like programs. Whenever we go into stores with our parents when we're young, it's like, don't ask no questions, don't touch nothing. Let's get in, get out.
Yep.
And not do anything extra because we don't got time for that.
Yep. I've definitely had to preface that with Ami being like, all right, we're going in here, don't say nothing. Just like, shh, we're just in. Yeah, that's it.
I think he's also kind of relying on that like sense of urgency and like keep up and like, you know, so he doesn't have to answer questions. Oh, we're not getting into that right now.
Absolutely. Go. And we'll see why too, because like part of it is the like, it's not just the like, don't ask questions, I don't want to tell you. It's like, it's a surprise, right? Like it's a thing that he's trying to get her to so she can see this thing. So they get to the roof and there's a boat on the roof. Right. So he's not answering the questions because he wants it to be like this grand, like reveal. And how do you, like he's trying to, you know, like the, what is it? The Will Smith meme of him with his arms out. Like, ta-da. That's what he's trying to do right now.
While we are on a podcast.
Nobody can see it.
We will never learn. Will we ever learn?
We see each other. The video's not even being recorded, but it's okay.
But it's also like really funny to me because it's like, even reading it, like, I'm like, no, Quinton, stop and explain yourself. But you really cannot verbalize there's a boat on the roof that we're about to fly off.
Right.
Like, you do have to see it.
Yeah. Because if somebody told me that, I'd be like, bro, you're bugging. Like, no.
Put some brakes on this. Put some brakes.
Then the police officers might have been on to something. You want some good stuff.
So there's a boat. It's the size of a school bus, and it has a log cabin on the back of it. Smoke is coming off the chimneys, and there's gold railings surrounding the front half. Amari laughs because she's like, "This is crazy, right? Like, this is ridiculous. How did this get here? What in the world is going on?" And he's like, "Nope, gotta hurry." So he's like, "Get on the boat." So they get on this boat. She sees 2 bunk beds and swords.
Also, I was thinking about the like common joke that we have about like Black people shouldn't just be getting on no boats. Does that go out of the way when it's on the roof and your brother's telling you to do it? I wrote this down.
I think
is that an exception? I think so.
The thing about it that is, like, he's not just her brother, he's also an adult. So if an
It's
adult
true.
is telling you can get on a boat from a floating boat, then you kind of like, I mean,
It's on the roof.
I gotta try it out, and an adult said it was okay. I mean, I'm gonna do it.
I feel like there are clauses.
There are. I'm sure that there are clauses and exceptions and stipulations, and I just wanted to know,
I think this is probably one of them.
One of them. Okay, I just wanted. I wanted to be clear.
It's a very specific thing, you know. Like, who knows? Maybe they weren't able to write that one down because, like,
secrecy rules.
Maybe it's like or not even secrecy, but just like you can't even like you couldn't even think of it, right? So maybe it's more like maybe there's like a small clause that's like, you know, there are extenuating circumstances and like and so I guess this is one of those extenuating circumstances.
Flying boat.
I mean, I just want to know that her mom kept telling them to not go to the roof because it was too dangerous, and like she was like the same way I would feel whenever like people tell me not to do something. I'm like, you think I don't have common sense? You think I don't know not to step on the edge? You don't think I have a fright of the height?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to F with the side of the building. I'm not ridiculous. I'm going to hang out in the safe portion by the door and not wander off to the side. You think that I'm 3? Like,
that's like when we were... It's like my mom and I recently were talking to Ami about like stranger danger. I think because something came on TV or something. And she was just like... Why would I even...
Come on.
She's at the age, like, you know what I mean? Like, if it had been... not that we haven't talked to her about it before, because I remember talking to her about it when she was, like, first going to school. When she was, like, 6, and she was like, okay. You know what I mean? And it was a different conversation. But as a 10-year-old, she's like, come on. She's like...
But she'd be lying, because then she'd be telling you about her friends from the games. And she don't know them people.
Well, that's over with. But again, she's 10 now. That's different.
Like, I was born at night, but I wasn't born last night.
Born in the middle of the afternoon.
No, she wasn't. It was like morning.
It was morning. Okay. But sometimes it shows. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So we go into this boat with 2 bunk beds and swords. But we don't have time to dwell on that. Why are there swords? But we don't have time to dwell on that because Quinton pulls her to up another staircase. They end up on the deck. And there's 2 large wooden captain's wheels. So this is like tight. So like there's 2 wheels. One is like faced like how you would normally see it. And the other is like perpendicular to it. And so there's like the one that turns left and right. And then the other one goes forward and back. So it's like how you steer this boat.
A spaceship, a flying ship.
A flying ship, yeah. Because
what are those called? They're called something though.
I just thought it was I don't know, flying boat, helicarrier, the Quinjet. But yeah, so
an airship.
So yeah, so then he starts steering and the ship rises in the air. So now they're flying. She throws she says, I throw both arms around the railing, holding on with everything I got. And for some reason, I also like think of like, it just very much gives like, not Titanic because his arms are out, you know what I mean? But it's just like that kind of vibe of just like, oh my gosh, like we're in the...
Again, I guess the universe is telling me I need to rewatch Marvel. It gave me Avengers when they're like, I think we should get inside. I'm going inside. When the Delia...
I'm going to show my fantasy nerd, but I love No Game in Stardust. There is an airship in that one, and that is now my like visualization of airships is that the one from there with Robert De Niro as the captain.
So okay, so she's like, Quinton, we're flying. You're gonna act like this is normal, and then he goes, maybe it is. So clearly, this is like one that's very slick, but also. Like, he
be into
very
stuff.
smug, I guess. Yeah, he's definitely into some other shit. He's definitely on some other shit. And Amari is finally learning what all of this is. They fly over the ocean. And then she looks through a telescope into the ocean. And after a while, she starts to see like these trains under the ocean. So it's kind of like, it's really dope and really like
magical.
I mean, okay, this is like the first thing we're seeing, right? We've seen the discrete delivery service, and then this is like our first kind of magical thing. But I do really love how expansive like this underground magical world is, and there's so many different things. Like we got a flying boat and we got trains underwater. Like it's just like very different, and it's cool to kind of see. Like we get a lot of like books about like Black kids wanting, like trying to make it out of the hood, which is, you know, has been done to various degrees of like
actual like not making the hood sound like the worst evil layer ever.
Yes.
Like villainizing the other people, community members within that area. Yeah.
Right. And so, and like we'll get into that because we'll see more of like her community, I think. And like, so we haven't fully gotten that part of the story, but I do like, because, you know, we have Mom in chapter 1 talking about like, you know, like her school being this gateway to like all of these opportunities and like not being stuck where she is and being able to like make something of herself in quotes. And so this is kind of a parallel to that, except like, again, like, you know, the broaden your horizons kit, and like they mean literally like she's on a flying boat, you know what I mean? Like it's one of those things where it kind of like expands the idea of what that means, because he's like, I just want you to see like all of the things that are out here, and the things that are out here is the, what do they call it, the International Railways of Atlantis. Right. So like that's something that's out there. You know what I mean? Not like, oh, you could become a fashion designer, which isn't a knock on that, obviously. But if I could be on the railroads of Atlantis versus like having an actual job, I would want to be on the railways of Atlantis. So like, it's just, I just like the way that like Quinton is that kind of vehicle for her to see all of these like really new and fantastic things.
I'm going to get into this a little bit when we get closer to like MVP and Bench, but there's something about, and maybe it's because I'm actually reading this as a full adult, whereas like other middle grade like urban fantasies I read closer to like being a kid, and the world was wide and open and full of possibilities and stuff, where I'm just like more and more appalled by the idea of like the secrecy behind these things, because and we will meet some of these characters later, but like we even get a good sense of this with like Emily Grant, and we talked about this in the first episode, of like those children knowing all of these possibilities and it not coming in these kind of like, you have to wait until you're about to step in the room to know the room exists. And so you don't like, there are tons of people, right? Like I see this every day in my like life, I'm sure you guys do, where you're trying to like not only integrate yourself into these spaces, but you're trying to figure out how these spaces work and what they are at the same time. Yeah. And there are tons of people who come in to integrate themselves into the spaces, and that is a journey that we all have to do, right? But they come with the background and the knowledge and all of and knowing the ins and outs of these things beforehand. They're not like having to assimilate and excel at the same time. And I don't know why, but this time and this reading with me where I am in my life, again, I always say like we read the same books, we don't read the same stories because our own lenses and stuff, but like I was so mad. I'm so mad.
Yeah. I mean, I do think it's like,
you definitely tap into my bench thing that we're going to talk about later.
Yeah.
But I definitely was like, for me, it was the fact that like Quinton having to be a trailblazer and like having this be the first thing, the thing that he knows, like we talked about last week about how he made sure that he had this discreet delivery available for Amari should anything happen to him, or like should he made sure that she had something of him, and he is like that this is the thing, that the thing is like, look at this world, not that it's just like wondrous, but that it's like something that's been here all along and you just haven't had access to it, and the first thing I'm going to do is make sure you have like some access to like the wonders of it, is like super like an older brother looking out for someone kind of thing. And definitely. I think it's something that we're taught as Black people to do, is like to look out for other people, and help other people. Like when you open the door for someone else and help them come through too. Send the ladder back down. Yeah, and I think that like this is reminding me a lot of like the idea of like not knowing and having to like assimilate thing is reminding me a lot of like, so like when I went through in high school, I did not realize, so I was in a lot of the AP classes, was that there are opportunities that were presented to me in those AP classes that I didn't realize other kids in other classes weren't learning about. And then I didn't think anything of it. I thought everyone was learning the same stuff about something basic like co-op classes as an option, where you could do a study hall your senior year. And instead of just doing study hall the whole time, you could use the study hall time to take a college course at the college and get college credit early in high school. I thought that was something that you just knew as a senior. I don't remember how I picked it up. I think I might have learned about it junior year, because I had it in my schedule for senior year. And I didn't realize that was something that no one else knew about until probably like, I think my sophomore year of college. I was back home, I was hanging out with my friend, and she asked me about it. She's like, how did you learn about co-op classes? And I was like, what? And she's like, how did you learn about it? And I was like, I don't know. Didn't they just talk to us about it in junior year? She's like, I didn't know anything about it. No one in the other classes said anything about it. I think you got it in your AP class. And I was like, oh my gosh. I had a moment to like let people in on something that was going on, and I had no idea that no one else really didn't know about it.
And that's by design too, right? They make it seem so normalized, and then you don't want to feel like, oh, and like the whole kind of like elitism of AP classes and stuff, where you don't actually really want to rub it in your friends' faces that you're in this AP class and they're not. Yeah. You don't want to draw attention to the fact that you're, in honors classes because you.
But my friend, like, it's not even like it was a big deal to. I mean, I don't know. There's people were different ways about talking about people in AP classes, but I think that for the most part, no one really begrudged the fact that I was in AP classes, and they had I never had my sister was not an AP English. I think she got an AP something else, and she was telling me about how like one of the teachers she had for regular English was one of the like few Black teachers that we had at our school, and how she spent time talking about how she was one of the first kids to integrate the high school in our hometown, the same high school we were attending. And I'm like, I never got to hear those discussions because I didn't get to have those teachers because that wasn't the level. Right. So like we all got different things from our different courseworks. And not that is like an equivalent in exchange. Like we should have been able to have all of the stuff available for everyone. Everyone should have had access to co-op. Everyone should have had the opportunity to hear about school integration from a direct source. It's just that it's like, it's ridiculous that like the like elitism of like withholding and like functionally like making it so that people will not know what they can and cannot have access to until it's too late.
Totally.
Yeah.
I think without giving spoilers, this is going to be something that comes up a lot of time. A lot as we read it. And I don't have anything to add without spoiling, so I'm just
it might be a theme of
I'm like, book. I have thoughts, but I have thoughts, but I can't say them yet. So
Wizard Team is brought to you by Black Nerds Create, a collective providing content through the lens of critical and creative fandom. If you want to support or partner with BNC on projects like Wizard Team, let's build. Find out how at blacknerdscreate.com/support.
So Amari's looking at the trains, and she's kind of like not really understanding like why he's showing this to her. He says, I want you to know how vast and wondrous the world really is. Everything you've seen from those trains to this ship is real. They're out there anytime you want to see them. Everything except me. So, plot twist. We're like, huh? What happened? So we find out that her putting the glasses on, she's now in what they call a wakeful dream, which is another bit of like interesting magic. He said that he left instructions for this delivery in case something happened to him. And he's like, I don't know what that was. I assume, I consented to doing whatever the thing was. Like I took the risk in the job that I have. And so, I knew it was not that I knew it was coming, but I prepared for it and like am okay with that. But I do wish that I could have done this like in person. Yeah. So we find out that like he's not actually here, which now we can talk about this hairline situation.
Right. So my thought was, and now Portia's thought actually makes more sense, but my thought was like, he's designing like an avatar, a video game character, right? And they do the little like stop motion animation or whatever, upload it to the main. I watched the show on Amazon Prime called Upload. It's actually I really like that show.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love that show. It's really good for talking about death as well.
It is very good when you talk about death. Because it's basically these, like, you can, in the universe of Upload, you can die and upload yourself to this basically, like, your body can die and you upload your consciousness to, like, this, like, matrix. It's basically, like, what the metaverse wants to be, which is kind of scary when you think about it. But, as they want to do, there are still class issues. So rich people live this fantastic life, and then they have poor people uploading themselves, and they have this like 5 gigabytes. They can't talk to their loved ones on the outside. They
basically got to use like phone cards to be able to like make sure they have access to continually be running their consciousness continually.
And they get ads, and they're nickel and dimed, and and then possibly maybe. There's a conspiracy that they're getting poor people to upload themselves in order to like shave the population. I'm not quite sure. We need a new season.
I haven't started season 2 yet, so there better be a season 3. That's all I'm gonna say. So, anyway, so I possibly, because I had recently just like binged Upload, thought of Quinton uploading himself kind of like a will, right? So like, this is how I'm gonna like, this is my will to Amari or whatever. And in which case you choose your clothing, choose your hairline.
Right.
You go to the barber,
go to the virtual barber.
And he was like, whatever, she don't care. Like, she's not that important. Or not that she's not that important, but like, I'm not trying to impress.
She's my sister. She's seen me look at any kind of way anyway.
Yeah.
So,
Portia saying there is a coder somewhere who didn't have the range.
Yes. I'm saying that like we all know that these algorithms are racist because they don't actually think like we do. So whenever they were coding this dream together, they didn't pay any attention to the hairline because like, do they care about hairlines being fresh? No, they don't know what that looks like. Like Robyn was saying, she's away with like not being on her tip top tier because they don't really, they notice things, so they don't know how to speak about the things, whereas Black people do.
And will read you the filth.
So yes. So
even if you're missing, I'm gonna comment on your hairline.
I ain't seen you in 6 months, and the first time I see you, your hairline ain't together.
You should have went to the
Like,
barber first.
Like, imagine like Real Housewives of Atlanta with edges. You know what I mean? Like, they don't let you get away with that.
I'm so happy to see you, big bro. I'm so happy that you're and at this point she thinks he's alive. Like, she's seeing him. Like, let's wake up mama. So you obviously look like you haven't suffered any damages, and we will talk about that later. But since you look in perfect health, what the fuck is going up with your hairline?
What is that?
What is this?
I also want to note that, like, while this is like an AI, basically, like it's a dream, but it's basically it reads like an AI kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
He does say that this is all real, like even like everything about this is real. The trains in the ship, and so I noted in my notes as I was reading through the chapter about how, like, so many different details about the ship, like the bunk beds, the swords, how the steering works, read very real. Like, it has to come from a basis of a reality in some way for these like, minute details to be so well included, and for him to have like explanations for them to give to her. That I was like, I'm super glad that this is kind of like being extended to her. Like, yes, she could wake up in the morning and be like, oh, like, was this all like a dream? Was I just imagining this because I wanted to feel something for my brother? But the fact that like he's going out of his way to make sure she knows that, like, while this is all wondrous, like, this is us in real life, and you can, the same things you're seeing here, I'm telling you right now how you can like maneuver them for your use should you encounter them in real life.
Right, because you will. Okay, yeah. So Amari is like, what happened to you? Quinton is like, I don't know, because again, it's a dream. So it's not like Quinton made it on some day off he had and was like, in case something happens, like, send this to Amari and not, like, break. So it's not the most updated version, I guess, of her brother. The dream was only supposed to be sent if the Bureau declared him missing or dead. Amari is still holding on to the feeling that he's still alive. And
tells him, which I love.
Quinton, was like, don't worry. She's like, you're only missing.
You're just missing.
Yeah, that's fine.
Don't worry, brother, Avatar brother. I got you.
And so he says, whatever happened to me, please don't let it discourage you from exploring this world to the fullest. So yeah, he's essentially just like, this is an amazing place. And I think that's also the thing. Like, he didn't want to tell her first, like, something happened to me. He was like, I want you to see this thing. I want you to see how cool it is, before we get into like the sadder and like darker parts of something that may have happened to me that I don't know about. He has left her a nomination with instructions on it. And she's like, a nomination? For like, she's kind of like confused. Everything goes black. So that's the other thing. He's hurrying her through because there's a time limit on this dream.
He ain't pay for the big buck plan. He on 3G.
No. Not the 3G wakeful 3G. Dream.
It was like me traveling through Wyoming and I couldn't get no signal because
so he says time's up, and he calls her Chicken Little, which is adorable. And says, I love you. Amari says, I love you too. I'm going to find you, the real you, no matter what it takes. So we kind of get the stakes at the end of this is like, okay, she's been nominated to enter this world. We don't fully know what that means, but she has this nomination. He's missing. And so in order to find him, she has to like do the thing, like go into this fantastical place.
Fantastic.
And she leaves him by saying, I love you and I'm going to find you. And I just...
Yeah. She said, I have a very particular set of skills.
But it's also like, she's like, you put a battery in my back. Like, I was already ready to go find you, but now you like gave me the juice that I needed.
The juice and like a clue, right? Because before she's like just uploading random stuff online. It's like, that's not really giving me anything to go off of. I'm still at home. I'm still, just like going through the everyday like drudge of life. And now she's like, oh, okay. Like, you're giving me something here, like something I can actually go off of.
Definitely,
and so we're gonna make it happen.
This entire world has something to do with where you are. And so I'm going in. I don't care what it is, I'm going in.
Yeah.
So exciting.
Yeah, so that's where we leave off. We have this nomination to a place, which is more likely like they mentioned the Bureau in the last chapter. So yeah, we just have to wait to find out what that means.
In more than 8 hours, as Amari did.
Y'all got 7 days.
I'm still mad about it. Y'all gotta wait 7 days to find out.
7 whole days. Hate that for you.
Except you have the book, so you are reading along with us.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just read it.
Y'all are reading along with us, right?
If you want to, because I can like I said, the pacing is such you can just flip through this.
Yeah, I was gonna say when we announced, I know some I think Lena in our Discord was like, "Well, reading now." So some folks will be on point by this point. But if you're reading piecemeal like we are, you'll find out next week. Maybe. I don't actually.
Let's be honest. We have each read this book before, so. If you want to, because we're doing this chapter by chapter, do not wait 7 days to go to the next. Read the book, and then reread it along with us chapter by chapter. Your life will be better for it.
Yeah,
I couldn't imagine waiting. I couldn't.
No, if I was reading for the first time, absolutely not. I couldn't. That wouldn't make any sense.
And it's such a and I'm saying this as I don't want to understate whatever privilege I may have in being able to read as quickly as I do, especially middle grade books, but it's such a quick read. It really was a quick read.
Yeah. All right. MVPs.
Quinton.
Yes.
Agreed.
I have issues with a lot of things, but I love how loving he is in showing her this world, how much he lets her know that it's important for him to be the one to show her that he, in the midst of taking on these challenging things and taking on this job, is still thought if something happens to me, the person that needs to know is Amari. And so it's just
and also to enter the world, right? Because this is something I meant to say earlier, is that the thing includes the nomination. So it's not just, you're going to learn about this place and you're going to find out something bad has happened to me. Also, if something bad's happened to me, I want you to get in there. I want you to be there, right? I want you to, maybe he's not explicitly saying find me, but he's essentially saying yeah. And so he's setting her up to do that and not just being don't go after me. He's not doing that. He's nah. Enjoy the world. I think if he was dead, it would be enjoy this world and be in this place. But if I'm missing, find me.
And of everyone, if I'm missing, you're the one that's not going to give up. You're going to find. You know what I mean? I know who you are. So Amari has a wonderful big brother who really embodies all of big brotherdom. And I'm sending my big brother this book and being what could have been.
So take notes.
What could have been? Yesterday he was mad at me because he said, I carried you for this long. You need to buy me an Asia Wilson jersey. Boy, excuse. It's a lifetime commitment.
I was didn't you just watch his kid?
Sure did. My mom did the heavy lifting. It took me 3 days to change a diaper, and I was really proud of myself about that. And then I was like, God damn it, there's no one around, so I guess it is me.
Fine. Oh my gosh.
Speaking of sending your brother a copy, I sent my brother a copy of this book for my nieces, and he and my niece have really been enjoying reading it, and I'm just super glad that I talked about this on Twitter. I'm am I going to be the annoying aunt that's she only talks to me about books? It's just.
Oh, that's what I plan on.
I totally will be. I 100% am gonna. I'm already I'm doing it with Ami, but once my siblings start having kids,
here's the thing too.
I'm probably not going to be it'll be a couple books. I can't take over their entire thing, but I'm going to send some lists. Take this list, go to the library, go to the bookstore.
I have definitely done both, where I'm like, go to the bookstore. I sent my one niece when she was like 15 and was like, I don't really like reading, and I was like, what kind of movies do you like? And then I sent her the like YA Black Widow book. She doesn't really like reading, and I was like, fine. But she did like that book. I am not sending my brother Amari so he can read it with my niece, because that's my job. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I might, so like there are a couple of things where I'm like, I'm not giving you that book because
that's my
that's me.
experience.
That's on me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's a me and me.
Yeah. I
Or
feel
not like not.
Yeah, I feel like being the book auntie that's aspirational.
It's a great place to be.
Is there a non-gendered form of that though? Like I know that
I had talked about this maybe with my sister, and I don't know that there is. We were like, what is the gender neutral like form of auntie or uncle?
There has to be.
I don't
one.
know. If somebody knows, please let us know, because I have not heard it. I've heard like nibbling for niece and nephew, which I don't love that word,
I've heard those, but I haven't heard.
But I haven't heard one for. Yeah, it does sound like food. That's what it is. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Oh, so Quinton. I was another mark for Quinton. Yes, he was also my MVP. Was that, and this actually might be a detriment, but I just for me, it was interesting that, as Robyn said, Amari was who he chose to be the one to come after him. For me, it was interesting that we're gonna learn like there's reasons why Amari has to be the one and not his mother. But in particular, the fact that his mom's not like gonna have like isn't the one who has sent this message, isn't the one who got the delivery. Like purposefully the delivery was made when she was out of the house, and like his job was mysterious to her in the first place, makes me a little concerned for like what Quinton has actually like been part of and like upholding it a bit, and having to like involve his like 12-year-old sister in something that he's clearly like missing from. So while I really like he is my MVP, I am also a little concerned with the fact that Amari is the one who's chosen, like the chosen one, and not the grown adult.
Because she's 12.
Yeah, and I also think that like I didn't take it as like him. I don't think he didn't explicitly tell her to find him. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think he gave her the like.
I know that. I get that, but I also get that like. But again, he sent the information, and the first information that the family has received since he's been missing,
right, is to the 12-year-old.
The mom was not around.
That's true. Yeah. Okay, what about benched? I guess I probably agree with y'all because I didn't really have like a person. So y'all can say yours. And I agree.
So I kind of alluded to it, but I'm going to do the first one, which is like not a throwaway one, but it's a personal bench, which is reality. Because why can I go see the International Airways of Atlantis? This life and this reality is ghetto, and I want some magic, and I'm mad that I don't have it. And then I termed it as exclusivity, and that to me is like kind of what I was talking about. That like that sense of she has to wait, right, to get this, and like we'll find out more about the Bureau and like Quinton's life and stuff, but like I would have also loved for Quinton to have gone off and like joined the Bureau and stuff and been able to go home and talk to Amari about it and tell her about it and walk her through these things, especially because as we see, he's giving her a nomination. We are assuming it's a nomination to this Bureau, right? Like he wants her to join this world. And so it would have been lovely for her to like find out about this world and to be kind of more tied to this while he was there to kind of hold her hand in real time. And a lot of that keeping secrets and stuff to me reads as exclusivity and to exclude, because as we will get to see people who grow up more closely tied to the world, they also have to get nominated and stuff, but they come knowing more. And I would have liked that for Amari. But because of who Quinton is, where he comes from, he's not afforded that, and he goes along with it in a way that I wish he wouldn't have. Yeah.
Yeah, so similar thoughts, but I termed it as elitism because I was thinking about, like, the elitism of, like, first of all, as I mentioned just a second ago about, like, it's Amari and not his mother for a very particular reason, given, like, spoiler, not spoiler, training, basically. Like, catching someone at a young age and training them up or whatever to accept things as the way that, like, the institution has them. And the way that his mother, because she has not attained this and not been part of the system, does not have access to information, of basic information of, like, where is my son, which is very elitist, and so elitist that it's, like, reminiscent of, like, slavery to an extent of, like, this mother does not know where her child is, literally because people are not telling her. Secondly,
I was gonna say, I mean, like, just going off of that real quick, like, so this is the first time that Amari has heard anything about this fantastic world. No one, like, we know that he has either gone missing or dead doing some line of work, but they did not hit his folks up. Like, he had to set contingency plans to let his people know something happened to him. Like, they weren't like, oh, okay, we got to sit. Even if it was some, like, BS, you know, even if it couldn't be, you know, if it's top secret, you can't, you can't say, they didn't say.
They have the officials show up in, like, uniforms and say,
yeah,
we're
nothing
sorry
to say.
You.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Like, even if it's classified, there's no, like, closure there, which I think is,
no missing in action notice, none of that. Like, it's radio silence.
Nothing, exactly.
Because this woman does not belong to the society or whatever. Elitism. And then the second thought that I had about elitism here is the fact that Quinton had to be such an overachiever, that he had to be accepted to these Ivy Leagues and have made all these accolades to even have the basic requirements met to even be able to show this wondrous world, to be able to see the wondrous world, and to be able to bring his sister into this wondrous world. Like, that's the only way they would have had access. And it is ridiculous. Like, I understand that, like, and I love that about us, about Black folk, is, like, we're going to lift each other up and we're going to talk about, like, how we're succeeding and how we're excelling and Black excellence and all of that. But at the same time, it still hits the respectability crap that we still have to, like, kind of work around, because it's like, we're still trying to attain excellence under a system that was not written by us for us. It was written for them by them. And it is completely frustrating that, like, there's all these cool and wonderful things that come from ascribing yourself to the system, because these are things that are withheld from you because when you're not. But it's also, like, very saddening that this is where we are. And it's the only access point is to agree to be part of this elitism. That's why I put elitism as my bench for this episode.
Awesome. Thanks, y'all, for listening. Join us next week. We will be discussing Chapter 4 of Amari and the Night Brothers. Things are going to happen.
Wizard team is...
Sorry.
Like, yeah. I mean, as you know, like, things, like we said, it's been moving.
Yeah, it's going fast. I don't actually remember what happens in Chapter 4, but I know, but things happen. So
I have a vague idea.
Something is going to, yeah.
Wizard Team is brought to you by Black Nerds Create. If you want to keep up with our other content, you can check our website at blacknerdscreate.com. Follow us on Twitter at blacknerdscreate, at Yana Wrote It, at Robyn with a Y _rambles, and at Porshèa. Follow us on Instagram at Black Nerds Create. subscribe to our monthly newsletter, and don't forget to rate and review this podcast and anything that you can rate and review of us. Actually, like everything, star everything, subscribe to everything. Thank you.
Bye.